Hi everybody, welcome back to the Wandering Art Historian YouTube channel. My name is Adrienne Lee. You know me as the Wandering Art Historian. I'm so glad that you're back for this brand new YouTube series I'm super excited about. I hope you're super excited. Let's dive right in. Haha, yes. Oh, what a topic. So perfect for our times. We're going to talk about a pair of really awesome, badass ladies today. One from our history and one from pop culture who share some very interesting similarities. I'm going to point them out to you and see if you can connect the dots, okay? Don't forget, like the videos, comment, or ask a question. Okay, I'm open to questions. And definitely share the videos with people you might think might be interested, okay? And if you haven't subscribed to the Wandering Art Historian YouTube channel, you may want to do that. There's some cool stuff on the way, okay? I've warned you. I warned you. Don't forget, with this YouTube series, I'm sending you more information over on the Wandering Art Historian blog. Go to thewanderingarthistorian.wordpress.com, follow the blog, and every week when there's a new video, there's going to be a new blog post, okay? So for the additional information associated with this video, go to the blog and click on Strong Female Lead Part 2 for all kinds of extra goodies, okay? How fun. Oh, Queen Esther. Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, I love Queen Esther, and she has the most awesome story, okay? Generally speaking, let's talk about who Queen Esther is, and then we'll get into her story, okay? Esther is a religious figure who is extremely important to both Jews and Christians. She plays a big role in Judeo-Christian culture. Her story is told in the book of Esther, found in the Tanakh, or the Old Testament of the Christian Bible, okay? Purim is celebrated to honor Queen Esther because she saved her people from genocide. That's insanely cool. Queen Esther is such a badass. And so let's talk about her story real quick, and then I will show you some artwork. Okay, so Esther was not always a queen. She was an orphan, and she was raised by her cousin Mordecai. And when the king of Persia is looking for a new wife, Mordecai suggests his cousin Esther. Now, Mordecai is an advisor to the king, okay? But they're doing one very interesting thing. They're keeping the fact that they're Jewish super quiet. No one knows that they're Jewish, okay? When the king sees Esther, he is like dumbfounded. He's just overwhelmed by her beauty and instantly is like, oh yeah, you are definitely the queen. Mordecai is a trusted advisor of the king, and he actually uncovers an assassination plot and puts the kibosh on that and basically saves the king's life. So he's pretty trusted and appreciated by the king, okay? However, the king's other advisor, Haman, he hates Mordecai because he's so jealous of Mordecai, okay? Then Haman finds out that Mordecai is Jewish. So he sets up this elaborate plot, okay? He comes up with this law that states that if you do not bow before the king of Persia, you will be murdered, okay? And that seems like, oh, okay, whatever, but the Jewish people cannot bow down to another king, only to God, okay? So he's doing it so that he can basically commit genocide and wipe out all of the Jews, okay? But the king of Persia, he's like, oh, sure, I want people to bow down to me. And he signs this law into effect. Mordecai finds out, and he is like, we're in serious trouble. He goes to Esther, and he's like, hey, guess what? This is what Haman is planning. He's trying to wipe out our people. And Esther is devastated, okay? But here's the thing. Mordecai is like, we have to do something to wake the king up and let him understand what this law would really require. And Mordecai suggests, Esther, you are beloved of the king. What if you went to the king and told him, hey, you can't allow this law to take place because I'm Jewish? Now this is huge because the king has all of these rules in place. The big one being, you cannot enter the king's court without being summoned, or else you'll get killed. Yeah, murder, right? So Esther decides to just to save the I say to save the day, but this woman is insanely brave. Okay, she puts on all of her beautiful clothing, she makes herself the most beautiful, and she takes a risk. She risks her own life, and she goes to the king's court, and she enters the court, and everyone is stunned because she had not been summoned by the king, and she risks her life, okay, to go before the king. And the king is so taken with her beauty, and he's so overwhelmed, and he's like, oh my gosh, Queen Esther. He extends his scepter to her, reaching out, beckoning for her to come forward. He says, oh, Queen Esther, thank you so much for coming to visit me. Whatever you wish, up to half of my kingdom, it will be yours. Oh, I can give myself chills. And she says, I am only here to invite you to a banquet. You and your trusted advisor, Haman. The king, oh, she's beautiful and she wants to treat me to a banquet. This woman is perfect. Haman is like, oh, I must be in good graces with the queen as well. Oh, look at me. I'm such a fancy guy, right? The queen hosts this banquet. The king is there. Haman is there. I mean, everybody is just having the best time. It's the most beautiful banquet. Haman starts to get real relaxed. He's convinced that he's in the good graces of the king and the queen and that they love him. And the king says, Esther, you never answered my question. Up to half my kingdom, what can I give you? What is your request? And Esther says, I just want you to come back to another banquet tomorrow. Oh, the king is blown away. He's like, this woman really is perfect. She is amazing. The next day, they hold another banquet, okay? Haman's there. He's lounging around like he's, big man in charge. The king is just googly-eyed over Queen Esther. And finally, the king says, Esther, you've hosted banquets, and please, what can I give you? Up to half of my kingdom, what can I give you? And this is where Esther is so badass, right? She says, well, King, I just wanted to give you a heads up that your trusted advisor here, Haman, he's up to some nefarious doings with this new law that you just signed into place that requires people to bow down to you or else they get killed. Jewish people cannot bow down to you because they can only bow down to God. And I'm Jewish. And so I hate to break it to you, but if you follow Haman's law, you will have to kill me first because I am Jewish and I cannot bow down to you. The king is furious. Haman realizes the jig is up and that he is in serious trouble. He's cowering in the corner, and the king is furious. He feels betrayed by his trusted advisor. He doesn't want to kill his queen. He loves her, right? So he has Haman hanged. He has him murdered. He's gone. He's gone. Now the problem is this law still exists. He's like, oh, I'm the king. I can't undo this law without looking weak, but I don't want to commit genocide. I don't want to murder my queen, her cousin Mordecai, who's now elevated to my most trusted advisor. What do? He actually gives the power to Esther and Mordecai to come up with this new plan. It's almost a new decree that says if anyone confronts a Jewish person who will not kneel before the king, those people have the right to fight back. They have the right to rebel and defend themselves from anyone who tries to enact that law against them. He actually gave some of his power to Esther and to Mordecai. How awesome is that story? Esther risked her life to save her people. Just amazing, amazing story. So let's look at how Esther is depicted in art, shall we? Okay, so one of the things you have to know about images of Queen Esther before the king is a typical story we see repeated again and again throughout art history, is that sometimes she is depicted in the act of fainting. And if you think about it, that would kind of make sense. Being so worried and nervous about entering the king's court without being summoned, putting her own life at risk to save the lives of her people. Just that pressure, you know, all the beautiful clothing and whatever, and risking her life like that. We see her being depicted as in the act of fainting, like just being overwhelmed, okay? So we have this image here. We have this image by our friend Artemisia Gentileschi. And if you're wondering, okay, why does everybody look like Baroque Italians and not, you know, like it's ancient Persia? That's because artists would definitely clothe the figures of their own times. So Artemisia, Italian Baroque period, so we see her in depicting these characters in Italian Baroque clothing and not ancient Persia. Okay, right, got it. Okay, awesome. So what we see here is Queen Esther in the act of fainting. We see her in this beautiful golden gown, what art historians refer to as Artemisia gold, but we see her with that blue sash. Remember, the color blue often represents spirituality or divinity, almost like saying she is wrapped in a divine mission, right? And we see the king rising, like he's going to reach out to her, and you see his beautiful purple sash emphasizing royalty. Nice, nice. Now we see a shift in some depictions of Queen Esther where she's actually more bold, and we see her even confronting Haman at the feast, okay? So what we see here, we see Queen Esther in this beautiful white dress, purity, innocence, what have you, with a purple sash, her royalty. And who is this kneeling at her feet begging for mercy? Haman, right? But do you notice that he has a yellow thing wrapped around his head and going down his body? And do you remember from previous videos what that yellow color represents? We see yellow associated with betrayal. He betrayed the king and unknowingly betrayed Esther. Okay, let's look at another image. Oh yeah, look, I mean, this is insanely cool. Here is beautiful Queen Esther pointing out the guilty party. Do you see Haman cowering in fear, knowing that he has screwed up royally and that he's going to be in trouble? Yeah. And then this beautiful image from the Baroque period, Dutch for sure. Haman cowering again under the wrath of the king. Also, just want to point out the little dog at the feet of Queen Esther. Don't forget, the dog is a symbol of fidelity, especially in marriage, the idea of loyalty, and that's how we get the word Fido, from fidelity. Okay. So now, who would be a modern counterpart, a modern pop culture counterpart to the incredible Queen Esther? Do you have any ideas? Princess Leia. Shout out to all my fellow Star Wars fans. Yeah, I feel like Princess Leia is very much a similar archetype, if you will, of the beautiful, powerful, royal woman who uses the power that she has to rebel against an evil empire, if you think about it, right? Don't forget Star Wars episodes 4 through 9. Princess Leia Organa, expertly acted by the wonderful, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher, who we all love and adore. Remember, Leia's orphaned, and raised as a princess on Alderaan. Okay, her adoptive parents train her, and she has a life in politics, right? She's a member of the Imperial Senate and works with the Rebel Alliance to thwart the plans of the Emperor. Obi-Wan Kenobi is kind of like the Mordecai figure who leads her and guides her and provides her her only hope, remember? But what's so cool about Princess Leia is very similar to Queen Esther's, that both are driven by a divine purpose. And while Queen Esther is driven by a spiritual drive to protect her people, Princess Leia is driven by the Force, if you will, to protect the rebels against the Empire. How wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. I'm having a great time. Look at these two beautiful, amazing women. I mean, don't you just love art history and pop culture? It's all connected through storytelling. And we just love stories. Humans love stories. Thank you for participating in yet another video. I will see you next time. Bye.